So as I mentioned in the comments, somebody came across an Illustrator tutorial and were kind of bummed out because they only had Photoshop. And I said, well, you can do that in Photoshop, so it's not a problem. So here we go. I'm going to create a new document. You can set it whatever size you want. I like to set it to a square, so that's what I'm going to do. And the first thing I'm going to do, this isn't strictly necessary. This is just me trying to be a little anal and organized because, well, that's just me. So in the top ruler, I'm going to click and drag down a guide to the center. It kind of snaps, and then I'm going to click and drag one from the left in, and it will kind of snap when you get to the center. So now I have my guides. Next thing you want to do is come over to the toolbar, and you want to grab your ellipse tool. Then you come up to the top to the custom shape options bar, the shape, and you want to make sure that this is set to shape, not path, not pixels, but shape. And then you want to make sure your stroke is set to none. And then under fill, you want to go to the third one over and set it to a gradient. It probably defaults to a color, so you just come over one and set it to gradient. And then if your foreground and background colors are black and white, then go ahead and pick that one. And if not, no big deal. You just want to pick the third one over, which is black and white. And the only other option you need to worry about is to make sure that it's set to radial. I think the default's linear, but whatever, just make sure that's set to radial. Then you want to come down to your canvas and you want to put your cursor dead center. That might be a little hard to see with the transparent background, so hold on a sec. I just added a blank layer real quick so you can see it. Hopefully it's a little easier to see. So what you want to do is put your cursor dead center. Now here's where it's only marginally tricky. You want to click once, but don't start dragging yet. But click once, and before you start moving your mouse, hold down the Shift and Alt keys. The Shift key will constrain it to a perfect circle, and the Alt key will drag out from the center. You don't want to, well, you want to ignore that. But you don't want to hit Shift and Alt first because otherwise you get the eyedropper tool. So click in the center of your document, hold down the Shift and Alt keys, and then drag out from the center. And you get your circle. Now I'm going to hit the Enter key to accept. I'm going to turn those guides off because we don't need them anymore. Next thing you want to do is go up to Filter and Pixelate and Color Halftone. Now, depending on your version of Photoshop, you may or may not have this button or option to the left, the Convert to Smart Object option. If you have an older version and you don't have this choice, and the only two choices you have are rasterize and cancel, then you want to cancel. You want to come over to the Layers palette and make sure that your shape layer is selected, and right click and choose Convert to Smart Object. And then come back up to Filter, Pixelate, Color Halftone, and then you get the options that you want. I'm going to cancel that and show you and back up a little bit to show what would happen if we did it the other way. Filter, Pixelate, Color Halftone, and I'll just choose Convert to Smart Object here if I have it because it saves a step or so. And we end up with the same menu. Now the cool thing is because we're applying this as a smart filter, you can go back and edit these at any time, so you don't have to worry about getting it right now. I'm going to pick a large number for the radius just so you can see what's going on. And the only thing you really need to worry about is for the 4 channels, whatever number you pick, it just needs to be the same. So I'm going to set everything to 90 and hit OK. And there's our halftone pattern. And what you can see is basically we have straight, horizontal, and vertical lines. Like I said, because we applied this as a smart filter, we can go in, we can double click on the color halftone, and we can change it again. I think those circles are way too big, so I'm going to try something smaller. And I want to change the angle too, so instead of 90, I'm just going to put 45 in each one. Or learn how to type with my left hand. And hit OK. And now you can see that the pattern runs on a diagonal, which is pretty cool too. At this point, if you wanted to, you could click Edit and you could define as a brush preset or a pattern or both. But say you also wanted to apply some color to this and black and white wasn't your thing. Well, that's cool. We can do that too. Come down to the bottom of the Layers panel, click on the Create New Fill or Adjustment Layer icon, choose Solid Color. I'll just pick any old color and hit OK. First thing we want to do is hold down the Alt key, click between the 2 layers, to create a clipping mask. And then with your color fill layer selected, just change the blend mode to screen. Now we have color. Because we use an adjustment layer, it's really easy to double click on the thumbnail, and now we can choose any other color we want. That works. Now, possibly you may want to use a gradient instead. We'll turn that one off. I'm going to come down, click on Create New Fill or Adjustment Layer again, and choose Gradient. Choose something a little more exciting than that. That'll work. Hit OK and OK. And I can either hold down Alt and click to create a clipping mask again, or because I have one here already, I'm just going to click on that layer and drag it between the two because it actually doesn't matter for this particular instance. And then just change the blend mode again to screen. And like before, I can double click. I can change the pattern, pick something else. I can change it from linear to radial if I want to. I can scale, I can reverse it. I can click on the gradient, move it around if I want to. If I moved it too much farther, I'd probably want to make it bigger though, so I didn't come back out to the black. And you can also, if you wanted to, you could save these as a brush or a pattern. But that's pretty much it. It's kind of the same process as in, what was it, Illustrator. It's just you're using Photoshop instead, and custom shapes in Photoshop are vectors, so assuming you don't rasterize this or you don't make a really small document, then you're going to be good to go. Now I also know that somebody's going to ask me, well, what if I want the circles just blank so I can color? Well, I'll turn off the color fill in the gradient layer, and I'm going to add a new blank layer. It doesn't need to be clipped, so I'll unclip that. Click on the shape layer, and I'll do it the easy way. I'll click on the magic wand tool, and just make sure up in the toolbar that the sample only contiguous pixels is actually unchecked for this, and then just click on the black. Come back to that blank layer, and then I can go to Edit and Stroke, and I can instead of stroke color and a weight, and hit OK. Control D to deselect. And then if I turn off that shape layer, you see you have a pattern that you could use to color with. You can also turn that into a brush or a pattern. There's probably other ways to do it, but I figure that's quick enough. So hopefully that helps. And if you have any questions, let me know.